Hello and welcome to today's episode of Digital Marketing Answered. Today we will be talking everything Google and how to keep up with Google and all the updates and also top tips. We are joined with Clotilde Watson from the team. Clotilde, do you want to give yourself a brief intro?
Yes, so I'm Performance Director at Innovation Visual. I've been there for a few years now, since 2017, I think. So I've gone through being a client lead and working on clients, and now I oversee the performance for all our clients and make sure that they go in the right direction. So yeah, I guess
Cool.
that's me.
Cool. So before we get into it, just don't forget to like this video if you find it useful and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss another episode. To kick off, Clotilde, can you explain what Google algorithms updates are? And yeah, just a brief introduction, really.
Yeah, so I mean, Google's gone very complex nowadays, and so basically the algorithm is like a complex system of rules to help rank websites. And so the idea is to provide the best answer to someone who queries Google search. Um, it's no longer one algorithm, so that's a good point that you said algorithms, because there's quite a few now. It's a very complex system with like different algorithms, different systems, each with like hundreds of different criteria as well and factors. And so basically it looks at things like relevance, the quality of like the page, how fresh it is. So, you know, when was it written? Is it like something really old? The authority of the website, the user experience, and many more things. And so, yeah, because it's quite a complex system, Google keeps updating it as well. So you hear about, oh, Google has done a core update. That's what we tend to call them. But actually, Google updates their algorithms like several times a day. So don't think like they just dust it off from time to time and start updating it. It's updating constantly. It uses a lot of machine learning and some AI in it. And so, but yeah, the core algorithm updates are usually the ones that we talk about because they tend to be big updates, so like very big changes. So the latest one was around content quality and spam and things like this. So that was a massive update that they did back in March, which went up to now. Some websites are still seeing like big changes in this, which is, I find this very interesting because like that was one of the longest ones we've seen. So usually these core updates, they kind of happen maybe several times a year. It depends whenever Google wants. Sometimes they will tell you that it's going to happen. Sometimes they don't, and it's a bit of a surprise. So yeah, as usual, it's, you know, Google kind of like owns this, so they decide when they want to do things. Another thing as well that I'm not sure if everyone knows this, but no one knows what's in the algorithm, and not even the people who've built the algorithm know exactly how it works because it's such a big machine now, such a complex thing. But there was a leak recently. Actually, I think it was last week, so like end of May. It was, I think it was like some API that leaked out of their cloud, and so all the SEOs went on it. And basically the leak was, so it's not the full algorithm but part of it apparently, and so it kind of showed different factors. I shouldn't really call them factors because it doesn't have context basically, so we don't know whether they are ranking factors or not, but it did show some of this information, and so all the SEO industry looked at it. There's tools to review it now already, and everyone like really looked at it with a found like very fine tooth comb, and like really trying to understand what that means. It did confirm some suspicions that some people had. around different topics. I won't go into the details. There's loads of articles and things like this around this, but yeah, very interesting. So some things that Google said, no, it's not. We don't look at this. So like things like domain authority, they said, oh, we don't have a calculation to see whether, you know, how authoritative your domain is. And then in this leak, there was some information around this, so people were like, are you sure you don't have that?
I wonder how Google's going to respond to the leak and whether things are going to change based
Yeah,
on the fact that people are aware of what's going on.
I don't think things will change necessarily. I think Google tried to kind of hush it a bit, or be like, oh, well, you know, you don't have any context around this and you don't know what this means, and, you know, try to kind of play it down a bit. But I think people were like, well, yeah, that looks pretty significant to us. So yeah, I'm not sure they would change anything based on that, but I'm guessing they're probably not very happy that this happened.
No, not at all.
Yeah, there you
Cool.
go.
Well, that's a great explanation of it all, and it's probably clear why it is so important to companies. But could you explain how companies could track the changes? Because I guess changes going on left, right, and centre every day, as you say. How on earth do you keep on top of these?
Yeah, so I mean, you're not going to track the changes every day, because sometimes it's probably going to be too small to see anything. So obviously, some of these changes will affect ranking, and we've seen that. You know, usually the rankings get affected more around core updates, because that's when big changes are happening. Like I said, you know, so like spam update, for example, a lot of websites got penalized and it wiped out. A good thing though, because it wiped out a lot of bad websites. So you know, it's not a bad thing when there's an update. It depends on what kind of website you have and and what you've been doing with it. But yeah, so basically, usually when these updates happen, your site might get demoted or it might get rewarded, depending. To track it, there's different things. So like I said, sometimes Google will tell you, and so they have like a tracker. I think it's called like Google search status dashboard. So you can just type that in to Google, first results, obviously. But so you can have a look at what kind of updates there are, if there's still something rolling as well. So because like I said, you know, the March update was very long, for example. But the SEO community as well, they will, as soon as there's something, usually I see it. So I follow a lot of people on Twitter, X. I don't like calling it X, but whatever. But I follow a lot of people, yeah, in the industry, and they tend to say, oh, there's been, so even if Google hasn't said anything, usually they'll say, oh, there's been some fluctuations in the search results pages. And so, you know, there's loads of tools. So there's things like Ahrefs, SEMrush and things like this. I think SEMrush has a sensor as well, so that's a free tool that you can use, and it shows where, you know, if there's been like loads of changes in the search results, if there's loads of fluctuations, and it looks at loads of websites. So that can be useful as well, because if you see some changes in your rankings, you can always have a look at that. And the great thing is that it's free, so you don't have to have SEMrush to look at it. But there's a few different tools that you can look at.
Cool. No, that's really useful. And with search engine results pages, how are all these algorithm updates changing them, especially with AI changes and everything that's coming into play? How are the actual search results changing in line with that?
Yeah, so I mean, it will depend on what the update is. We've seen loads of changes. I mean, you know, years ago it was just the blue links, and now you've got so many things. You've got ads on there. You've got what we call featured snippets. So when you ask a question, and then you'll get like a knowledge graph about the question, or it will answer your question straight away. Or you might, you know, if it's something about someone, you might get a picture and some like details about who they are. Then you've got shopping as well, so you might see that. You've got videos now. You've got Google Discover as well, which will show you like other topics on things. So they've evolved a lot. And so usually, yeah, when they sometimes they do a test and then they roll it out, so it's not necessarily an algorithm update. But sometimes, yeah, they'll make big changes. So like AI. So yeah, the AI overviews. That's the big thing that's happened very recently, and it's very interesting because it's still so. I don't want to say it's still early because they've been testing. So AI overviews used to be SGE, so search generative experience, and so they tested that for, I want to say, a year. I'm not sure, but it's been quite a long time. And so they tested it with like specific people, and then I think it was, when did they launch? Like mid-May, I think they renamed it AI Overviews, and then they launched it in the US. And so that's why I'm saying, you know, we're in June while we're filming this, and it's still fairly early because they've made loads of changes. When it was in test, it kept changing as well, and now it's in the US only. And again, like, they keep moving it, so it's quite hard for me to say, oh, you know, this is what's happened or this is how it's changing things, because it's still not very clear, and everyone's talking about that as well. So I mean, it's been a busy few months in SEO because everyone's talking about the Google leaks, and then everyone's talking about the AI overviews as well. So yeah, I don't know if I've gone a bit off the
No,
question.
that's good. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, with the changes, I know it kind of, for me anyway, it changes every time I'm searching something. And I guess it's just Google testing things and trying
Yes.
different things, how you're going to basically engage with that, with the results, and see if that works for different users. What impact is it actually having on businesses, Google testing all these things?
Well, it will really depend on the business and what you've already got in place. So some businesses will benefit. So again, you always have people who benefit, people who get affected negatively by it. The interesting thing with some of these changes, so like AI overviews and things like this, I feel like the impact on businesses is probably going to be more zero-click searches, which can be quite negative, and that's why it hasn't been received with open arms by everyone in the
Yeah.
industry. Because if you think about it, so the AI overviews, but also, you know, some of the featured snippets that you can see, so like I said, you know, knowledge graphs and stuff like that, you basically get an answer straight away to your question. So if you're the user, you go and ask a question Google, and then you get the answer. You probably don't need to go onto the website, you know, unless you want to buy or you want to do something. If you just wanted the answer to your question, that's it, really. You don't. So it's moving towards that idea that you don't really need to spend time doing the search and going through different websites to find what you're looking for, which is going to affect some of these websites. And especially, that's why publishers were very upset, because if you think about it, you know, publishers are people who publish content online, and so what they need is people visiting their website, reading their content, because then they tend to monetize it with like ads and stuff like that. So that's how they make the money, people reading the content. So if you think about it, if Google gives the answer directly in the search results, and then you don't really need to read anything more,
Mm.
then these people are going to lose that traffic, basically.
Especially with the people also ask stuff, as I'm pretty sure Google will just end up having a paragraph, taking information from loads of different sites and just putting a paragraph there, so it gives the answer straight away. So it's actually not taking any specific content from anywhere. It's just trying to give the user what they want as quickly as
Yeah,
possible. So
exactly. But that's a very good point, what you're saying. It's trying to give the user what they want. And that's where it's tricky, because I've watched a lot of webinars, I've listened to a lot of people giving, you know, their opinions on this. But Google's aim isn't to, you know, help websites get traffic.
mm,
That is not what Google is there for. Google is there for, so their mission is to organize the world's information and make it like easily accessible to people,
mm.
which is kind of what they're doing.
Yeah.
really.
And
And
we're
so
just making the most of it.
exactly, yeah. And so, you know, someone said, I think it's Lily Ray. She's like she's an SEO professional, and she's written loads of good articles and stuff. And she said, you know, we've taken advantage of the system so far, and now things are changing, and so that's why a lot of people aren't really happy about it, because oh well, wait a minute, we're not getting any traffic anymore, you know, oh, this is going to affect us in a bad way. But Google is like, well, tough, because you know that's got nothing to do with us, and we're just trying to, yeah, we're just trying to show answers to questions. So I mean, it will affect businesses, obviously. I think it's still not clear exactly how, because to be honest, when they, you know, when Google launched like the snippets, like the knowledge graphs and stuff like that, it's been there for a while. And so yes, all the questions that were around, you know, how old is Brad Pitt or whatever, you know, stuff like that, a lot of websites lost traffic on things like this because like Google was answering it. But then, you know, you change your strategy, you change the way you do things, and then you still, you know, other websites manage to still get traffic from other sources. So I think it's just thinking, seeing how things evolve and thinking, well, people will still need to buy stuff. So if you're a business, I'm not going to speak about publishers because that's a whole completely different different problem. But if you're a business and you're selling products or services, people are still going to need to buy them at some point. So they'll still need to go onto your website. So yes, you might lose traffic, but you'll need to figure out, well, how do I get in these results? So how do I get cited? Or, you know, how do I reach my audience? And maybe you'll need to do a bit more brand awareness, for example, and kind of reach them on other platforms. I mean, talking about other platforms, you know, TikTok, that's also threatening Google. Like, not everyone searches on Google anymore. Some people have moved on to TikTok, and some people have moved on to, you know, other places. So that's an interesting one as well. You know, there's not just Google here. So I think the marketing basics are still the same. So you still need to be where your audience is, and you still need to provide the, like, what they need, basically be useful. But it's just that things might change how you do this, basically. So you might not get as much awareness visits from organic. It's not there yet, though.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of answers the next question, is how professionals are going to take it. But it's like, yeah, it's taking what Google's doing and just maximizing your strategy to kind of go around that and also work with it. So use it to your advantage, like you're saying, TikTok, because I'm pretty sure I heard TikTok's like the second biggest search engine. So there are so many different avenues that you can generate that traffic. And as you say, then it's not going to be those blogs and things that you want to rank anyway that are going to, you know, get people to convert. Usually it's mainly, they're kind of just the top of the funnel pieces of content if it's more awareness stuff. But it's the other pages, like product pages, which you can really optimize to, you know, especially with these changes with AI. And I know that it's kind of, you know, optimizing that, you know, shopping, organic shopping, if you're e-commerce. And yeah, and then if you're B2B, optimizing the, you know, the product pages so that they've for conversions. But it's just bringing people to those pages a different way. If the changes are going to affect, the traffic.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it evolves, because actually already this week there were reports that, so AI overviews used to show about 80% of the time. And so just a reminder, it's only in the US at the moment, and it's only showing to people who are logged in and who aren't using incognito mode. So it's very specific the way it's showing, you know. But so it used to show about 80% of the time, and this week they've reported that it's gone down to 15% of the time.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying, you know, it's not fully there yet, and things keep changing, keep evolving. So don't panic just yet. And I mean, I don't know if people saw that, but there was a lot of controversy around the AI overview. So I've said, publishers were very upset about this, and some SEOs as well, but also because of the results that it was returning. So there were loads of errors. It's still AI, it's still generative AI. It's not perfect. I mean, AI is, it blows my mind and it does some amazing things, but sometimes it's pretty dumb.
I mean, there's always going to be errors. Like, there's never
Exactly, yeah.
perfect.
And so there has been a lot of controversy. And so once Google launched this, I think, like I said, it rolled out only mid-May. And then straight away, everyone started testing it and stuff like that. And then you ended up with AI recommending you to put non-toxic glue in your pizza sauce to make it stick better or something. So
and drinking your urine to
yeah,
I don't know, help your
I think
kidneys
it
or
was with
something.
kidney stones and stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like,
No,
yeah,
don't do
that's
that.
not great, and so
Yeah.
people are seeing this as well. So the users are seeing this, and like I said, Google is here to satisfy the users. And so, but what's very interesting is that Google was like, because everyone started moaning, like all the SEO people started moaning straight away. They were like, oh, this is unacceptable and this is terrible and it's really bad, and all publishers. And Google kept saying to them, no, everyone loves it and the users are really enjoying it and and people are clicking more on things and stuff like that. And then they've literally rolled it back a bit, and so now it's only showing 15% of the time. So they've clearly, and it's happened before where Google have launched something and then they've just removed it or swept it under the carpet or something.
Pretended it never happened.
So I'm not sure this is going to happen with this. It might evolve, or it might be in a different way. They're still going to want to use AI because they need to compete against things like ChatGPT and stuff like that, because that's going to take market shares from Google, definitely. So they need to do something, but it's clearly right now, I'm not sure if it's maybe it needs more testing, or maybe it needs more, but I think it will probably change or something. It will evolve. And so that's why I'm saying it's still quite hard to tell now, because first of all, we don't have any tracking on that stuff. So I've seen a few new tools now being released and stuff like that, but we don't know. Like Google said, oh no, the click-through rates are higher, but we haven't seen any data from that, basically. So they haven't given us any data around this. It doesn't give you anything in Search Console. You can't see what's happening. So there are a few tools that are giving, and there have been a few researches released on who is affected and stuff like that. But yeah, otherwise we don't know that. So, and it keeps changing. Like I said, it's gone from showing 80% of the time to 15% of the time. So things are going to keep evolving. Yeah.
And just to expand on that, I mean, have you seen any impact with e-commerce sectors or any other sectors so far in the UK and globally, I guess, the clients that you're working with?
I mean, the clients we're working with, we haven't really seen much impact yet. I don't think it's been released in the UK. So the UK is still kind of okay for now. If you're in the US, yes, you might start seeing an impact. There have been there's been some research. So I know there are times where it's more likely to show. So for example, healthcare, B2B tech, e-commerce, insurance, they're kind of areas where it's more likely to show. Interestingly as well, when you're in the your money, your life category, so this is an SEO term that we use for things that will affect your money or your life. So, and like I've said, healthcare, insurance, stuff like that, that's going to affect if you make the wrong choice, basically, or if you give the wrong advice, then that's going to affect your finance or your life, literally. And interestingly, because a lot of SEOs said, oh, they won't do AI on this because it's too risky, but actually it seems to be that they've launched AI especially for this, and so it started answering a lot of these questions. Interestingly, it's not showing very much on restaurants and travel, for example. I don't know. these things, because there's already, if you search for restaurants and like if you search for travel, Google's already got a lot of tools with that. You know, travel, you can now like see your flights from directly from Google and
Mm.
stuff. I'm guessing they don't really need AI on here because they've already got stuff in place. Um, Also, so the publishers were very upset about AI overviews, but it doesn't show alongside news. And I think that's because news, because it's like very last minute. So if you think about AI, the model gets trained on like older data. So I think they're not showing AI on news because the model won't be trained, like it won't know if it's something that's happened
Mm.
half an hour ago, it's not going to know about that. So yeah, there are specific times where the AI overviews are going to show, but again, it's still fairly early. I've seen some people say, oh, I've managed to rank into an AI overview. Apparently some SEOs have been saying that is fairly easy because basically you just need to mention the keywords. So it's kind of like back 10 years where you just apparently, and you know, again, take that with caution because it's still very early, but at the moment it seems to be very easy to kind of game the system because you just stuff keywords and
Well, I
then
guess you're just giving it as much information, making it as easy as possible to take your content. And if it's saying
yeah,
how to cook X, you write everything to do with cooking X, and it will make it easy for it to be like, okay, I know that content is around that. But
yeah.
then how does it actually decipher what content is better to take from? That's
Well,
where
that's
it gets confusing because it's like, well, one
yeah.
article could say you cook it this way, and the other article says cook it that way. So yeah, how does
So
it do that?
that's a very interesting comment actually, because the way it works. So at the moment, the AI overviews, the way it works is that the AI will generate a response, and then it will find so the sources that it shows underneath. So it will generate the response, and then it will find sources that actually match the response. So it doesn't do, it's like the reverse of what Google ranking system does basically. So the Google ranking system will look for like different sources and figure out, you know, what are the, rank them in, that's what the algorithm does. It ranks them in the right order. Whereas here, the AI crafts a response and then goes and looks at sources that will match it. And so that's what I'm saying. It seems to be fairly easy to game it because as long as you've got the right keywords and you mention what the AI has said, then you're fine. You can rank. And actually, people have done some research on this and they've seen that some of the answers, some of the sources weren't even in the top 10 results. Even I think someone mentioned that one of the answers was like some Reddit post from like 10 years ago, which, and that's why people have been really worried about it because, you know, the quality of the answers and stuff
Mm.
like that. So the AI gives you an answer and then it looks for sources, but how good are these sources?
That's what I was actually going to ask is, with the changes, I have heard and we have heard that Reddit posts are taking over the results. And, how is that going to affect things?
So that's another one. Yeah, yeah. Like it keeps changing. Yeah, everything's changing. And to be fair, it is a great time of change right now. But
Yeah.
yeah, Reddit, that's incredible. So basically, again, another thing for SEOs to moan about.
Yeah.
But basically, it's interesting because I think it started around July last year. So July 2023, when Reddit started ranking quite like fast, and you can see there's some graphs online where you can see the rankings going like growing exponentially, and they keep growing as well. They haven't stopped yet, and it's been very interesting. So I think it's kind of part. So Google has released the EAT guidelines. So it's
Yeah.
the EEAT. So it's expertise, experience, authority, and trust. Um, and so in the experience bit, you can see that Google is making a lot of effort to reward people who show first-hand experience. And I think that's a big thing with like the launch of generative AI and stuff like that, because you know, and people don't have as much trust on things like this. They're like, well, did a robot write this, or you know, was this? And so the human experience is getting more and more important. And so that's where, yeah, I think Google, you know, again, they've changed their algorithm to kind of reflect this, and with that, that's rewarded massively things like forums. So like Reddit, Quora as well is doing really well, and other forums, because you know it's first-hand experience. It's humans responding to other humans. The problem is that it might be going a bit too far. Because sometimes, so some of the bad results that we've seen in the AI overviews, it was some of them, not all of them, but some of them were taken from like Reddit posts where actually the person is just a troll, and it's just so the glue thing to put in your pizza, that I think that was someone on Reddit just saying, oh, why don't you put non-toxic glue in the pizza, like as a joke. And the AI is not very good with understanding like humor and, and stuff like that. So it can cause some issues. But I mean, if you're a business right now, I would definitely look at, you know, is your audience on Reddit or Quora and stuff like that? And should you start looking at posting, because their organic visibility has gone through the roof. So if you can't rank for some of these, you know, some keywords and stuff like that, but Reddit or Quora is there, just post on it.
Yeah, and we all know how important, as you say with Eat, how important user-generated content is, and this, like we were saying with TikTok, I mean, people are going to trust a review on someone normal's video rather than a company's expert video showing their product. So yeah, that's a great idea actually, to start getting on Reddit and starting threads, starting the conversation and getting people chatting.
Yeah, and not just for organic rankings as well, just because if your audience is there, just talk to them there. Like you need to go where they are. What I would say though, caveat is just don't ditch everything else and just do that. Because you don't, so it's not a platform that you're going to own, and you don't know what's going to happen. Google could decide tomorrow to change their algorithm, and then they lose all these rankings, or they could adjust. So again, just try to diversify, but you know, there's probably massive opportunities depending on which industry you're in.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. And just your top tips, I mean, how can businesses, what can they take from this? How can they start reacting to these Google updates, especially with changes on SERPs and things?
Yeah, I mean, every update is different. So, you know, the specifics of what you need to do will be different depending on what the update was about. So, you know, if it was content quality, it's going to be different from spam and stuff like that. But usually what we always say to clients is don't have a knee-jerk reaction. So I've said that before, usually the updates roll out. So it's not like Google's like, cool, I've updated the algorithm and now everything's changed within 10 minutes. It's like I said, it's a massive thing. So it takes days, months to update. Like this time, you know, the March update was months, literally. So don't have a knee-jerk reaction, because whilst it's rolling out, you'll see the search results tend to have a lot of fluctuations in them. So loads of websites are going up and down, and everything's kind of like a bit crazy. And so you need to be careful, because if the update is still rolling out, you don't know, you might go back up at the end of it. And we've seen that. Some of our clients have had that actually, where they kind of fluctuate, their visibility fluctuates throughout, and then at the end they just go back up because Google has settled everything, it's looked at everything, and it's like, oh yeah, these guys are fine, so I'm just going to put them back here. Because think about it, right? The way Google works is billions of sites that it has to rank. So it takes time to kind of readjust when you've changed the rules, basically. So that's my main advice for these things. Don't panic, and don't start changing all your website because you've seen a bit of a drop or something like that. And then obviously diversify. So that's what we say to all our clients. Don't put your eggs in one basket, because if Google is your only source of traffic and leads or revenue, well, you can't control it. And you can't control these updates, and Google might decide tomorrow, I don't know, I don't like businesses who talk about this subject, or whatever. I mean, I don't think they would do specific like that, but they decided that a lot of publisher websites who have like ads on them, a lot of them got demoted. And so if you were in that category, you might have seen some drops in your traffic. And really, like, apart from removing the ads and stuff like that, sometimes there's not that much you can do. And a lot of websites that have been hit actually are struggling to kind of go back up, because their whole model, basically Google was like, well, no, I don't want to rank these websites that have a model like this. So businesses tend to be, I think, so our clients are usually, actual businesses. They've got something to sell, they've got a product or a service. And so Google is very happy to rank these websites, because it's like, well, you've got something like tangible to offer people and something that people want. So usually if you follow guidelines, so again, another tip would be follow the EAT guidelines. And we've written about it, have a look at our website. We've got like blogs about that. So make sure that you write quality content. So don't get in the trap of like, oh, cool, AI can write loads of content, I'm going to publish a blog every day. If there's no one to read it, or if it's not high quality enough, you're never going to rank. And even if if you're ranking right now, I think Google will update their algorithm and you'll get done. So in my mind, the tips are around that. You have to create quality content, follow like marketing 101 basics of like, be where your audience is, provide them with something that's useful. And then, don't panic too much. So don't start changing everything all of a sudden. Just, be mindful of that and diversify.
Yeah. Diversify is a massive thing. I think you're definitely seeing that with our clients, is just making sure that they're across the board and they've got the videos and they've, everything's running, just to diversify what they're doing to generate the leads, as you say.
Yeah, it's not as easy. SEO is getting harder. I'm not going to lie. It is getting harder, but I think if you've got these basics, you should be fine. And yes, there will be fluctuations, but you'll keep going. And that's what we've been doing with our clients for a long time. We just keep following these things, and we've been in business for years and years. And I don't think we've had any clients who've been hit by these updates, because we just keep, so yes, it ebbs and flows, but we just keep going and keep following these principles. And as long as it works with Google,
and for the viewers, just finally, I mean, how can they now take away from this and start following Google's updates and making sure that they're doing all they can to not get hit from the future updates?
I mean, it can be hard, because there's a lot. So like I said, in the past 2 weeks, there's been like 3 massive or loads happening. So if you're in-house, I would strongly advise to kind of follow. So people like us, so that's what we do. That's our industry. We follow what's happening in SEO every day. We see these changes, and then we tell our clients, hey, have you noticed this? You need to look at this. So I think the best way really is, like, follow us or sign up to our newsletter, or hire us. I know it sounds a bit like salesy, but actually, because if you're in-house, you've got enough to do with your day-to-day of day-to-day marketing, and you've got enough to keep up with your industry as well. So I see, a lot of my clients, some of them like to keep up with, with SEO and stuff like that, but it's really hard because it keeps moving. There's loads happening all the time. So they don't always have the time. So definitely, I think, you know, we're in it all the time. I mean, I'm on X all the time looking at what's happening, and you know, if you're interested as well, there are loads of like newsletters out there. So there's a Search Engine Land, there's Search Engine Journal, Mars as well, and all the tools, the SEO tools, so like you've got SEMrush, Ahrefs, they tend to kind of put out really good articles and kind of like give the news as well. So you can follow that as well, and you know, you'll see what's happening. Track your performance as well. So we track visibility for all our clients, and so that helps us see if there's like fluctuations. And like I said, there's tools. So like SEMrush has the free kind of like sensor tool that you can have a look to see, oh, what's happening? Is there anything moving? But yeah, it's really that. And then, I mean, how to prevent updates from affecting you, like I said, is just do good SEO and good marketing, really. So just, you know, just so interesting, like Google says, trying to rank organically is actually against their policy. So basically what I'd say is don't try to rank organically, just try to reach your audience.
And it will
That's
kind of
what
be
it's
an
all about.
after effect of that, you know,
Exactly.
focus on your users, and then the other stuff will happen in the background without you having to think about it too much.
Exactly, yeah. Because, you know, ranking organically is an accessory to find your use, so for your users to find you, sorry, and then for them to buy from you. You know, that's just a way to get there, a means to get there. So the goal isn't to rank organically, the goal is to get customers. So just think about it this way, I think. And it's, yeah, so it's doing things like this, like showing that you've got authority in your area, and so, you know, people look up to you and you know what you're talking about, you've got the expertise, you've got the experts within your team, you've got the first-hand experience, so making sure that you show that, and just again showcase trust, you know. So like, do you have reviews, do you have awards, do you have, you know, things that can, social proofs of case studies of like what you've done and things. All these things work towards that. And that's why I'm saying SEO is a bit harder, because you can't just get away with, oh yeah, I've put some keywords here and there, that's it. You know, you have to do the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Days.
That's for sure. Well, it sounds like it. And I mean, that was super useful. I found that useful. I'm sure people watching found that very useful. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. Just
Thank
a
you.
reminder to like this video if you're watching, and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you so much.